The last transmission. What would you do if you picked up a radio transmission from someone asking for help and then discovered that the voice belonged to a person who died 3 days earlier? This is the account of Marcus Webb, a long-haul trucker, 46 years old, 22 years on the road. A man who thought he'd seen everything the highway had to offer, who thought he understood the loneliness of those endless miles, the isolation of the night shift, the strange things you see when you're the only person awake for 100 miles in any direction. But on a cold November night driving through the emptiness of rural Wyoming, Marcus encountered something that broke every rule he thought governed reality. Something that still haunts him. Something that made him question not just what he saw but what's possible, what's real, and what might be waiting out there in the static between radio stations, in the empty spaces between 1 mile marker and the next. This is his story. It was a Thursday, November 14th. Marcus was hauling refrigerated cargo from Denver to Seattle. Standard route. One he'd driven dozens of times. The weather had been deteriorating all day. Rain turning to sleet as he climbed elevation. Temperature dropping. Roads getting slick. Not dangerous yet, but heading that way. He'd been driving for 9 hours. His CB radio on. Scanning channels occasionally. Listening to other truckers. Their conversations. Their warnings about road conditions. Their complaints about dispatchers. The usual chatter that fills the emptiness. That reminds you you're not completely alone out there even when you can't see another soul. Around 11 p.m. he was crossing through the Red Desert. That vast empty stretch of southern Wyoming where civilization seems to have given up. Where towns are 60 miles apart. Where gas stations close at sunset. Where the darkness is absolute. Total. The kind of darkness that presses against your windows. That makes your headlights feel inadequate. That reminds you how small you are. The sleet had stopped. The clouds had broken. Now it was just cold. Clear. Stars so bright they looked unreal. And the road. Empty. Straight. Vanishing into blackness ahead and behind. Just Marcus. His truck. The drone of his engine. The hum of his tires on asphalt. Nothing else. He was listening to a podcast. Something about history. Barely paying attention. Just letting the words wash over him. Keeping his mind occupied. Keeping the solitude from becoming oppressive. He'd learned over the years that the mind does strange things when it's too quiet for too long. Starts creating patterns. Seeing things. Hearing things. Filling the void with imagination. Then his CB radio crackled. At first he thought it was just interference. Happens sometimes. Atmospheric conditions. Solar activity. Random noise. But then it resolved into something. A voice. Faint. Distant. Breaking up. Male. Young. Desperate. Help. Please. Anyone. Help. Marcus turned down his podcast. Grabbed his CB handset. Keyed the microphone. This is southbound 73. I copy you. What's your 20? What's your emergency? Static. Then. I don't know where I am. Road. Dark. Can't. Engine won't. Please. Cold. So cold. The voice was clearer now. Terrified. Shaking. Marcus felt his professional instincts kick in. Someone was in trouble. Stranded. Needed help. Okay, buddy. Stay calm. What's your name? What are you driving? More static. The voice cutting in and out. Tom. Thomas Carver. Sedan. Blue. Broke down. Hours ago. No one. No one's coming. Can't feel. Fingers. Please. Marcus checked his mirrors. Scanned the road ahead. Nothing. No vehicles. No lights. No broken down cars. Just empty highway stretching into darkness. Thomas. I'm Marcus. I'm going to help you. But I need to know where you are. What's the last town you passed? What mile marker are you near? Don't know. Sign said. Something about Wamsutter. But that was long time ago. How long? I don't. Can't think. So cold. Wamsutter. Marcus had passed through Wamsutter maybe 40 minutes ago. Small town. Maybe 200 people. Gas station. Post office. Not much else. If this Thomas had broken down somewhere past Wamsutter, he could be anywhere along a 60-mile stretch. Thomas, are you on Interstate 80? Yes. Think so. Yes. Westbound. Pulled over. Tried. Called. Phone dead. Battery. Everything. Dead. Marcus made a decision. He'd turn around. Backtrack. Look for this stranded motorist. It would cost him time. Might make him late for his delivery. But you don't leave someone stranded in Wyoming in November. Not when it's below freezing. Not when they sound like Thomas sounded. Okay, Thomas. I'm coming back for you. I'm going to turn around. Drive east. Flash my brights. Watch for me. If you see my lights, try to signal. Flashlight. Hazards. Anything. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Please hurry. Don't leave me. I won't, buddy. I'm coming. Just hang tight. Marcus found an emergency vehicle turnaround. Crossed the median. Headed back east. His eyes scanning the shoulder. Looking for a disabled vehicle. For any sign of Thomas and his blue sedan. He kept his CB handset ready. Checking in every few minutes. Thomas. You still with me, buddy? Static. Then. Still here. Waiting. See. Do you see me? Can you see? Not yet. Keep watching. I'm looking. You'll see my lights. Big truck. Lots of lights. Marcus drove slowly. High beams on. Scanning both shoulders. The median. Looking for anything. He passed mile marker after mile marker. Nothing. No disabled vehicles. No person. No evidence anyone had pulled over recently. After 20 minutes he was back at Wamsutter. He'd covered the entire stretch. Carefully. Thoroughly. Nothing. He keyed his MIC. Thomas. I've driven the whole route. I'm not seeing you. Are you sure you're on 80? Could you be on a different road? No answer. Thomas. Come back. Nothing. Just empty static. Marcus tried different channels. Called out on each one. No response. He sat at the Wamsutter exit. Engine idling. Trying to make sense of this. Had Thomas gotten help? Had someone else picked him up? Or had Marcus somehow missed him in the dark? He radioed other truckers. Asked if anyone had seen a stranded blue sedan. If anyone had heard the distress call. No one had. No one had seen anything. The road had been empty all night. Marcus didn't know what to do. He couldn't search forever. Had a delivery deadline. Had a job to do. But the desperation in Thomas's voice. The fear. That stayed with him. Made him uneasy. Made him feel like he'd failed somehow. He turned back west. Resumed his route. Kept his CB on. Kept listening. Hoping to hear from Thomas again. Hoping for some explanation. Some resolution. Nothing. Just static and the occasional chatter from distant truckers. Thomas's voice was gone. Vanished into the electromagnetic noise like it had never existed. Marcus drove through the night. Couldn't shake the feeling. The wrongness. Something about that call bothered him beyond just not finding the stranded motorist. Something in the voice. In the transmission itself. Something he couldn't quite identify. He pulled into a truck stop near Rock Springs around 2 a.m. Needed fuel. Needed coffee. Needed to clear his head. While the truck was fueling, he went inside. Grabbed coffee. Stood at the counter. The attendant was an older woman. Weathered. Looked like she'd worked there for decades. Quiet night, she said. Yeah. Marcus hesitated. Then. Hey. You hear anything about a stranded motorist? Blue sedan. Guy named Thomas. Somewhere between here and Wamsutter. She frowned. Thomas. Thomas Carver. Marcus felt something cold slide down his spine. Yeah. You know him. Knew him. Poor kid. Found him 3 days ago. Froze to death in his car. Broke down on 80. Called for help but his phone died. Tried to stay warm but didn't make it. Wasn't found until morning. Too late. Marcus stared at her. His coffee forgotten. His mind trying to process what he'd just heard. 3 days ago. She nodded. Terrible thing. He was only 24. Driving to Salt Lake. Visit his sister. Car died. Temperatures dropped to 15 below that night. They said they said it was quick. Hypothermia. You stop feeling the cold eventually. Just go to sleep. Marcus set his coffee down. His hands were shaking. What did he look like? She pulled out her phone. Showed him a news article. Local story. Photo of a young man. Smiling. Brown hair. Thin face. The headline read, "Local man dies after vehicle breakdown." "That's him," Marcus whispered. I just heard him. On my CB. An hour ago. He was calling for help. Said he was cold. Said he'd been waiting. The attendant looked at Marcus for a long moment. Her expression unreadable. "You been on the road too long, honey. Should get some rest." But Marcus knew he hadn't imagined it. Knew he'd heard that voice. That terrified, desperate voice calling out from somewhere. From some impossible place. From 3 days in the past. Or from wherever Thomas Carver had gone after freezing to death alone on that empty highway. He finished fueling. Got back in his truck. Sat there for a long time. Just sitting. Trying to understand. Trying to rationalize. Trying to explain. He couldn't. The transmission had been real. The voice had been real. Thomas had called for help. Had reached across whatever barrier separates the living and the dead. Had found a frequency, a channel, a way to transmit one last desperate message. One last plea for rescue that came too late. Marcus pulled out his logbook. Wrote down everything. The time. The date. What he'd heard. What the attendant had told him. Creating a record. Evidence. Proof that this had happened. That he wasn't losing his mind. Then he drove. Continued west. Delivered his cargo on time. Tried to forget. Tried to move on. But he couldn't. Because a week later it happened again. Different night. Different stretch of highway. Northern Nevada this time. Dark. Empty. Around midnight. Marcus was hauling electronics. Sacramento to Portland. Standard run. Nothing unusual. His CB crackled. "Help. Please. Anyone. I'm trapped. Can't. Doors won't. Fire. Please." Different voice. Female. Older. Panicked. Incoherent. Marcus grabbed his handset. His heart already racing. Already knowing. Already understanding what this was. "This is southbound 73. What's your location? What's happening?" "Car. Accident. Went off. Can't get out. Smoke. Please. Hurts. Everything hurts." Marcus pulled over. Stopped his truck on the shoulder. Stared at his CB radio like it was a venomous thing. "What's your name?" "Sarah. Sarah Chen. Please. Help me. Don't let me." The transmission cut out. Static. Then silence. Marcus sat there. Shaking. He grabbed his phone. Searched. Sarah Chen. Nevada. Accident. Please let there be nothing. Please let this be a prank. A coincidence. Anything but what he feared. He found it immediately. News article from 5 days ago. Single vehicle accident. Highway 93. Sarah Chen. 42 years old. Drove off the road. Vehicle caught fire. Trapped inside. Died before emergency services arrived. Marcus threw his phone. It hit the passenger window. Cracked the screen. He didn't care. He was breathing hard. Hands gripping the steering wheel. knuckles white. This was happening. This was real. Somehow, impossibly, the dead were reaching out, using CB frequencies, finding him, calling for help that could never come, replaying their final moments, their final desperate transmissions, over and over, across time, across death, across whatever boundary separates their world from ours. Why him? Why was he hearing this? Why was his radio picking up these impossible transmissions? Was it the equipment? Was it him? Was he sensitive somehow, tuned to a frequency others couldn't perceive? Or were these calls going out constantly, endlessly, and most people just dismissed them as interference, as pranks, as imagination, never knowing, never believing, never understanding that the static between stations isn't empty, isn't silent, isn't just noise. It's full of voices, full of the dead, full of final transmissions that never stop broadcasting, never stop calling out, never stop hoping that this time someone will answer, someone will help, someone will save them from what already happened, from what can't be changed, from deaths that occurred days or weeks or years ago. Marcus started his truck, pulled back onto the highway. He didn't know what else to do, couldn't process this, couldn't accept it, couldn't bear it. He drove through the night. His CB turned off, couldn't listen anymore, couldn't risk hearing another voice, another death, another impossible call from someone beyond help, beyond saving, beyond reach. But even with the radio off, he could feel them, sense them, the transmissions continuing all around him, invisible, inaudible, but present, constant, the dead calling out on frequencies the living rarely acknowledge, sending their desperate messages into the void, into the static, into the endless electromagnetic spectrum that surrounds us always, carries our voices, our data, our communications, and sometimes carries more, carries echoes, carries ghosts, carries the final words of those who died alone, who died afraid, who died calling for help that never came. Marcus quit long-haul trucking 2 months after that Nevada incident. Couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't drive those empty highways at night. Couldn't risk hearing more voices, more deaths, more impossible transmissions from the other side. He works local now. Delivery routes. Day shift only. Never more than 50 miles from home. Never alone on dark empty roads. Never listening to his CB. Never scanning channels. Never opening himself to what might be calling. What might be reaching across. What might find him again. But sometimes late at night when he can't sleep, he thinks about them. Thomas Carver freezing in his car. Sarah Chen trapped in flames. All the others he didn't hear. All the others whose final transmissions went unanswered. All the dead calling out on frequencies no one monitors. No one acknowledges. No one believes in. Are they still calling? Still broadcasting? Still hoping? Still trapped in those final moments? Endlessly repeating? Endlessly reaching out? Endlessly alone? He doesn't know. Can't know. Doesn't want to know. But he wonders. When you're driving late at night, when you're alone on an empty highway, when you hear static on your radio, interference, white noise, random electromagnetic activity, listen carefully, because maybe it's not random, maybe it's not interference, maybe buried in that static, hidden in that noise, is a voice, a call, a transmission from somewhere impossible, from someone who died calling for help, who died alone, who died afraid, and maybe they're still calling, still waiting, still hoping that someone will hear, someone will answer, someone will help. But you can't help them, can't save them, can't change what already happened. All you can do is listen, bear witness, acknowledge that their final moments, their final transmissions, aren't lost to silence, aren't forgotten, aren't alone in the static. Someone heard. Someone knows. Someone carries their voices forward. Marcus carries them. Thomas. Sarah. The others. He carries their transmissions. Their final words. Their impossible calls from beyond death. Beyond time. Beyond understanding. And now you carry them too. Now you know. Now you'll wonder when you hear static. When you're alone on empty roads. When the radio crackles with interference that might be more than interference. Listen. They're still calling. They'll always be calling. And somewhere, somehow, they are hoping that this time someone will answer. Someone will help. Someone will save them. Even though it's too late. Far too late. Forever too late. The dead don't stop calling. They just keep transmitting. Keep broadcasting. Keep sending their voices into the void. Into the static. Into the frequencies between stations. Between life and death. Between here and wherever they've gone. And sometimes, rarely, someone like Marcus picks up those transmissions. Hears those voices. Bears witness to final moments that refuse to stay buried. Refuse to stay silent. Refuse to accept that help will never come. If you drive at night. If you listen to CB radio. If you scan frequencies looking for company. Looking for voices to fill the loneliness. Be careful what you hear. Be careful what you answer. Be careful what you acknowledge. Because once you hear them, once you know they're there, once you understand that the static isn't empty, you can never unhear it, can never forget, can never return to the comfortable ignorance of believing the dead stay silent. They don't stay silent. They are calling. Right now. This moment. Somewhere in the static. Someone is transmitting. Someone is calling for help. Someone who died alone is still reaching out. Still hoping. Still waiting. And all we can do, all anyone can do, is listen, remember, and carry their voices forward. Carry their stories. Carry the knowledge that death doesn't end transmission, doesn't end the call, doesn't end the desperate hope that somehow, impossibly, help will come, even when it's 3 days too late, even when it's forever too late, even when help is impossible. The dead keep calling, and the static is never empty.